Well,
So
it's a great moment to be here because of so many exciting things that are going to happen in the next year in tech and media.
Why do you say that? What's different about what is it about the environment right now, Michael, that makes you say that?
Well, there's so many things that we know are on the verge of happening. So you have over 100% of Americans have cell phones today. It means there are people who have more than one. And we have this entire revolution that's happening with television and and messaging, which I can talk a little bit more about. And so we're about to see some things, and we're just at the precipice of seeing a lot of them develop, not only in terms of how people are going to use them, but in terms of how they become bigger businesses.
Yeah, so talk to us. You've done some work actually looking at sort of the consumption of how people use media and what they do all day. And one of the things that really jumped out at me about your work was it helps me explain why I feel like there's just not enough time in the day. 24 hours doesn't cut it. Because?
Well, because the average American is really having a 31-hour day. I mean, the idea that time is a zero-sum game, we really should lose that idea. Because
are you saying we're more efficient, or we're just getting everything?
I hope he's talking about time travel.
Right, no. We're doing a lot more.
Yeah.
So the average American these numbers are interesting. The average American is sleeping about 7 hours a day, but only working about another 7 hours a day when doing all sorts of other things and only working about 6 hours a day. And when you look at all the other activities that they may be doing at the same time, that's about 11 hours a day, and that's including everything from listening to music, listening to the radio, watching video on the internet. And so our multitask lives have meant that people are just doing so much more, and they're experiencing so much more, and by the way, they're losing out on sleep.
Yeah, I can certainly attest to that one. I mean, Corey and I we kind of laugh about it, but there is so much multitasking going on. I think about just in our job, how, we're doing our broadcast, but we're often kind of researching something at the same time. It's just kind of amazing.
No, and people have gotten used to that.
Yeah,
I think
norm.
about my 16-year-olds are constantly, they can be in the middle of a conversation. They see nothing wrong with being in 2 other chats on Snapchat with friends. And when you get to adults, what you see is that it's an accepted behavior to be watching television, to be on the internet, and by the way, while you may be on a speakerphone in a meeting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's the way that people watch TV. We certainly see that with how Twitter is used with TV as well. But your suggestion there is that this is just the beginning of it, that our kids are much more comfortable with this than we were, and of course we're more comfortable with it than our grandparents were, perhaps.
I think kids are more comfortable, partially because from a social perspective, they think there's nothing wrong with being able to sit at a dinner table or being able to sit in a conversation and have a third person involved, or more than 1 or 2 extra people involved in that conversation who aren't there. I think second of all, there are just so many times when people have the opportunity to experience technology and media.
You say messaging is bigger than social media.
Messaging today already, there are more people in the world who are using messaging apps than are using social media, and it's likely to become much bigger. Today, if you really look at today, we have roughly 3.2 billion internet users.
Yeah.
You have 2 billion people who are on social media. You have 2.5 billion that are already on using messaging. And we believe that within 3 years, it's going to be about 2.4 billion social media users and roughly 3.6 billion messaging users. So the internet, the entire internet, is going to be about messaging. And
yet, it's not clear there's a business model there, right?
Well,
I mean, you look at Facebook's acquisition of WhatsApp looks brilliant, and when you look at users, but when you look at revenues from it, doesn't look so smart.
Well, the place to look at are the Asian messaging services. So WeChat and Line and some of the others that are in Asia, they've already created app stores within their messaging app. I mean, people talk about, like, I have an app, there's a messaging app. These people have created everything from taxi services to music services to video. Even WeChat has created WeBank, and that's where they're making money. So Facebook is hardly making probably nothing off of Facebook Messenger and on WhatsApp. WeChat in China is making about $7 a user. So there's money there. It just hasn't
Wow.
been explored yet.